Welcome back to Bonus Round. Happening now, there are people all over smashing themselves together in order to take up bases across the country. Why? I don't know. However, I'm going to tell you all about it in this rendition of Bonus Round. So, we're going to talk about Smash Up today. Smash Up is a board game by AEG, also known as Alderact Entertainment Group. And in this game, you play as two different faction decks. They're pre-built decks, and you literally smash them together. So each deck plays a little bit differently, and there are endless combinations of how the decks can go together. In this game, though, you have different bases out on your table, and each base has 3 victory points. During the game, you're going to play minions onto the multiple bases on the board, and once the minions' power adds up to the total number on the base, that base ends up scoring. Once somebody has scored 15 points, they win! Yay! Also, you can play cards on the bases that make the bases do different things for your characters or your opponents. And you can move your minions around in order to move them around to different bases, especially if you don't want one to score, or you do want one to score and you need to get extra points for it. So that is how Smash Up plays. However, there are multitudes of expansions to Smash Up, and each one of them changes how the game is played, as well as how many different combinations of cards you can have. So each faction comes with 20 cards. You have to put 2 of the factions together. You get 40 cards then. You will be able to play differently depending on the 2 factions that you put together. So we're going to start with the base game of Smash Up. First in the base game, you have aliens. The alien faction returns cards to their opponent's hand, kind of like Abduction. Dinosaurs are just high-powered cards, and they destroy weaker cards because they're dinosaurs. Ninjas sneakily go through and destroy other people's minions, as well as switch out cards from your hand at the last second. Be like, oh, I was going to play this, but ha ha ha, this card exists now. Pirates move cards around the board, especially themselves, so they basically be like, oh, I'm on this space, just kidding, now I'm on this space, just kidding, now I'm on this space. Robots, they have just a bunch of tiny little minions, but they have a lot of them, so they all add up after time. We have tricksters, which force players to discard cards from their hands or make the bases undesirable to play on. We have wizards, and they can draw and play lots of cards on their turn, so basically multiple actions, multiple cards, because they just have all those cards. And then zombies. What do zombies do? They raise the dead. So if they have cards in their discard pile, they can go through their discard pile, replay minions that have already been discarded. And that is the whole base game. There are 8 characters in the base game, which leaves infinite possibilities. However, once you are done with that, there are multiple standalone expansions for 2 players. You can mix and match these with other expansions or the base game, and every time it's different. First expansion, awesome level 9,000. Bear Cavalry. The Bear Cavalry move minions away from you and destroy things while they are moving around. So if you're playing with those pirates and those pirates are moving, that Bear Cavalry is going to come through and be like, no pirate, you're not moving around now. Ghost. Ghosts gain power from discarding cards and having no hand. If I'm a ghost, I don't have a hand. Somehow that makes me more powerful. Killer Plants. You play cards from your deck as opposed to your hand, and those cards have delayed effects. So basically you can stack those effects later on in the game where, oh, I played this card from my deck. It does nothing for me right now, but on my next turn it's going to do something fantastic for me. Then we have the Steampunks. They let you play actions onto bases that help you. So basically it's like, oh, well now this base does this and that helps me in some way. That's awesome level 9,000. Then we have the obligatory Cthulhu deck, which sounds really cool. They have the Elder Things, which make other players mad. They have a new mechanic called Madness cards in this set, and when players are mad, they have to choose between giving you an advantage or drawing more Madness cards to put them in their deck, which basically will just constantly end up having players give you advantages. We have the Innsmouth, which keeps playing the same minion and refilling your hand with them, so you just kind of keep the same minions just keep showing up over and over and over again. Then we have the Minions of Cthulhu. They play really, really powerful cards, but it is at the cost of gaining madness yourself. We have the Mesotonic University, and you're basically able to manipulate that new madness card mechanic to your own advantage. So that's the obligatory Cthulhu set. Then we have the science fiction double feature, which comes with cyborg apes, which basically just allows you to power up your minions. Like, oh, hey, look at all these minions over here. I'm a cyborg ape. Bam! We have shapeshifters, which allow you to copy the abilities of other players, which is actually really, really powerful. We have the super spies, which basically lets you sort your deck and manipulate the decks of your other players. And then time travelers, which allow you to repeat things that have already happened or re-grab cards from your discard pile. Then we have Monster Smash, which also introduces another mechanic, power-up tokens. So we've got giant ants, which basically generate +1 counters that you can make and transfer around to your other ants. We have the Mad Scientist, which generate +1 counters, and then they remove them in order to gain benefits. So basically they're like, I'm mad with power, but I'm going to get rid of some of this power to make me even more powerful. Somehow that works. Then we have Vampires, which destroy weak minions and generate +1 counters by doing so. And then Werewolves, which basically gain temporary power boost at specific times. Perhaps a full moon gives them a power boost. And that's all in Monster Smash. Then we have Pretty Pretty Smash Up, which is actually probably the most popular one I think that we sell at conventions. It comes with fairies, which have options on their cards, so basically you can choose which one takes effect. There's kitty cats, and the kitty cats take control of other minions temporarily and then weaken them. So they're basically like, I see you played that pirate and that zombie. Those are actually my pirates and zombies. And eventually I'll give them back to you, but they might not come back quite the same. And then we have Mythic Horses. They gain benefits by having more of them on a singular base. And then Princesses, they don't have a lot of minions, but all the minions they have are very, very powerful, which means they have a high power, which means you're more likely to end the scoring of a base at any given time. But you know, now we're going to have a word from our sponsor before we go on. So, you know, let's cut to that for a second.
Autoract Entertainment Group, AEG.
Next, we're going to go into the Munchkin expansion, which is standalone. It comes with 8 characters as opposed to the regular 4 that the expansions come with. I'm pretty sure it comes with a couple cards for the Munchkin card game as well. You have Clerics, which can retrieve random cards from the discard pile. Dwarves draw treasures and gain powers from them, so we also have new treasure cards in this expansion. Elves help other players draw cards, which is great because it does help the other players, but you also will get benefits from the help that you are giving them. Halflings, they draw lots and lots of minions, and they can play them all, but only when they're behind in scoring. Then we have Mages. Mages gain power as you discard things, and they manipulate different monster cards. Orcs get powerful the more minions you have over the other players. Thieves can draw treasure and steal victory points. I cannot stress enough, if you like take that mechanics, the Thief is probably the best one to play. Warriors destroy just lots of things. They can destroy minions, they can destroy bases, they can destroy cards on the bases. That's the whole Munchkin expansion. Now we're on to more of the 2-player standalone-y type expansions. It's Your Fault. It's Your Fault comes with dragons, which makes bases and minions unattractive. So it's like, oh, that minion's not actually helping you. Maybe you should just destroy it instead. We have the Mythic Greeks, and the Mythic Greeks boost every action you play. So it's like, I play an action, now it's boosted. Sharks move around like, you know, the pirates, but they actually destroy weaker minions. Superheroes. Superheroes protect yourself from destruction, but it can also transform. You can Clark Kent yourself up and be like, oh no, I'm a level 1. Now I'm a level 5. Just kidding, I'm a level 1. Clark Kent. Somehow that works. And then there's tornadoes. I don't understand why, like, there's tornadoes in this box. Right before it scores, this tornado comes through, picks up all the minions across all the bases on the board, and, like, redistributes them, and who knows how that's going to affect you later. So then we have Cease and Desist, another expansion. It has Astronites, which have 10 unique minions that help you play action. We have Changer Bots, which switch minions from weak to powerful and back again. So basically they're like Transformers. The Ignobles, if anyone doesn't know what the Ignobles are, it's basically where people get awards like the Nobel Prize, but for science projects that seem really weird. That's kind of how they play. They give other players your minions. They're like, oh, here's my minion, here's my minion. And then like eventually you take them all back. And then we have the Star Roamers, and they return minions to your hand and manipulate how other minions will affect things. What Were We Thinking is another expansion, and that one has Explorers, which lets you take a peek at the bases that are about to come out, and you can actually rearrange them. There's Grannies. You know, Grannies are old. They let you play from the bottom of your deck. Seems like cheating, but they're grannies, so you're not going to tell them differently. We have rock stars, and they collect groupies and get advantages from bases that have high values along with their groupies. And then there's teddy bears, and they get advantages when players are on the same base as you. You're just like, oh, look at that teddy bear, I'm going to give it boost for some reason. Then we have Big in Japan, which is also another popular expansion for Smash Up. Itty Critters, and they let you summon from your deck to use power and put them on the bottom of your deck. So basically, I'm going to summon this card from my deck, I'm going to use what it says, and then I'm going to tuck it on the bottom of my deck instead of discarding it. There's Kaiju, which doesn't have a lot of minions at all, but it does have the ability to summon a huge Titan, which will pretty much score any base that it's played on. And then there's Magical Girls. Magical Girls have abilities that grow the more minions they have on the base, so if you're trying to collect all your Sailor Scouts together, as you play more and more, they get more and more powerful, and their abilities stack. Then we have Mega Troopers. Once a base scores, you gain benefits from it. And then onto that 70s expansion, where you've got Disco Dancers, which duplicate minion abilities. They're like, hey, I'm taking your ability and using it for myself. Kung Fu Fighters, they drain power counters from minions. So basically, if minions have a lot of buffs, the Kung Fu Fighters can take some of those buffs away. Truckers. Truckers transfer actions around the board, or they take control of those actions as well. So they're basically like, coming through. Vigilantes are basically minions that once they're played, they're really, really hard to get off of the boards. And then there is, oops, you did it again. The Ancient Egyptians, they bury cards in your deck for future use. There's Cowboys, which start duels with other players' minions to get rid of them. Samurai, which they get benefits when your minions go to discard. And then there's the Vikings, and we all know what Vikings do. They're just stealing everyone else's cards and claiming it as their own. Then we've got the World Tour International Incident. Comes with luchadors, everyone's favorite wrestlers, and they get to play actions that require other actions in order to activate them. And then it has Mounties, which move around and buff other minions. They're like, my Mountie's here, I'm going to give you a buff. Now I'm going to move over here and give this character a buff. Then we have Musketeers, which chain all your actions together. So you're like, I'm going to play this, then I'm going to play this, then I'm going to play this, then I'm going to play this. We have Sumo Wrestlers, which move other players away from you and allow you to draw lots of cards because no one really wants to be around that Sumo Wrestler. So that's International Incident World Tour. But then we have Culture Shock World Tour. And World Tour Culture Shock comes with a Nazi Tales, which gives cards to other players for benefits, and then those cards can keep getting passed around. We have the Ancient Incas. They draw and replay cards that activate abilities over and over and over again. We have Grimm's Fairy Tales, which has a very interesting mechanic, which is cards on the table need to be partnered up in order to get power points towards the base. Then we have the Polynesian Voyagers. They move to places you currently don't have minions on, or I can make new bases come out. And then we have Russian Fairy Tales, which replace any minions in play with different ones from their owner's deck. So that's all of the expansions, the base semi-expansions for Smash Up. But there is another expansion called the Bigger Geekier Box. And this is basically a giant empty box which has divider cards in it for you to be able to put all of your expansions in one box, because let's face it, at some point you outgrow the original box. In the Bigger Geekier Box, it does come with 2 faction decks. The Geeks as a faction which use knowledge of the game to disrupt other players' plans. And it comes up with Smash Up All-Stars, which lets you draw mini cards from your deck and discard pile and try and stack the best cards for your game. So that is Smash Up. Lots of bases around here. We could be in space, we could be on the Earth. I don't know where we are, but that's what's going on here. So, you know, definitely go and play Smash Up because it's great. Bye. Oh yeah, I'm Kendall, and this has been Bonus Round. Oh, that didn't work. That sucks. That was great.